Hey guys! So one of the important things to remember with dissections is to be safe. These animals are stored in formalin, which has a little bit of formaldehyde in it, and that actually makes it a little bit dangerous. So you got to be really cautious as you're dissecting this, not to get these chemicals on your skin, but especially not in your eyes or in your mouth. And if that happens, make sure you let your teacher know and that you go to the eye wash station. Another important thing to remember is to keep your gloves on, and this is just to make sure that you're staying clean and not getting them in your mouth or hands afterwards when you go and eat lunch and getting that chemical on you. So this frog right here, it was euthanized for the sake of science so that we can go ahead and look at it. And so I want you to remember to respect the animal because it sacrificed its life so that we could learn a little bit more about its body. So what we're going to go ahead and do is make an incision right here, right above the arms, an incision right above the legs, and then you're going to kind of connect those incisions by making this connecting cut. And once we pull that along, this has got a little bit of water in it because it's been stored in water, but you can see that I'm just pulling aside some of that epithelial tissue and exposing these muscles beneath. You might need to do a second little cut to make sure that you get those muscles aside. And at this point, it might be beneficial to use scissors as well. Once you kind of pull those away, you're just going to pin them to the sides. I'm going to use my scissors. Remember when you're using these scissors that the pointed edge is going to be your best use of this tool. So make sure that you point it downwards. And we're going to go ahead and cut this tissue aside. Again, this animal died for the sake of science. Make sure you're respecting it. We're not going to treat it poorly or, give it nicknames or anything like that. That would be disrespectful to the animal. It would also be disrespectful to not fully kind of explore everything that it has to offer because it did make this great sacrifice. Now, one of the first things that I see, which is really cool, is that this is actually a female. You can see all these little black eggs right here, and that's going to tell us that this is a female, and it'll fill up a large portion of the cavity of her abdomen with all these eggs, and you won't find that in a male. Another really neat thing here is these little lobes that are the similar color, that grayish color, that's actually the liver. Once we've identified the liver, you can just go ahead and remove it. You could do that with your scalpel or with your scissors. Just make sure that when you use the scalpel, you're using caution. You never want to point it towards somebody else or towards yourself because you don't want to risk getting injured. But now that we've identified it, let's remove it so that we have more space to look at what else is going on. It should have 3 lobes. There we go, we've gotten rid of it. Now, right beneath the jaw, you can see it right there. It's kind of making that, it's a little triangle. That's actually the heart. And it might seem really small, but it's very efficient for this creature. Here, we've got this little C-shaped organ is actually the stomach. Really cool thing about the stomach, I'm going to go ahead and remove it so we can get a little bit of a closer look inside, is that if you were to cut it open, sometimes you might be lucky enough to find an animal inside, like an insect, but you can see it's got this ribbing here. That's called gastric rugae, and that is a really cool feature that we have in our stomachs as well, and it allows your stomach to expand to fit more food inside. And you can see that it's going all the way down, it's leading to the small intestine, and if we were to follow this, we would find the large intestine. You can take out all of these eggs here. That's just taking a bunch of space up. Another thing to remember about frogs is that the females will let all of their eggs out, and the male will come through later and fertilize them while they're in the water. So they might seem really small, but when they get into the water, they'll start to kind of swell up with that water and expand. This is fat. You'll see these a lot, especially in the males. They've got a lot more fat bodies than the females because they have more space, since the females have so many eggs taking up a lot of their space here. Now that we've identified, again, the stomach, we're going to go ahead and remove the intestines as well. And if I was to follow where we cut the stomach away from all the way up, we would find that it actually leads to the esophagus. And if we were to follow this all the way down, we would find that it would lead to the rectum and then the anus. This is really neat back here. You can kind of pull that up and put it on my finger. It almost looks like a little raisin, and that's actually one of the lungs. So you'll find one on the opposite side as well. There we go, that's that other lung. These are very small and a little bit deflated now, but that's because they're not in use. Here's some more eggs, more fat bodies. See some of these things back here. Another one of the things that are really cool to look at is I can tell that this is a female because of the number of graspers that she has on her hand. If this was a male, he would actually have more graspers. And the purpose of that is so that they can hold on to the female during mating. If we're to open up her mouth, they have a really cool feature. Their tongue actually attaches at the front of their mouth, and it's able to flip over and kind of jut out so that they can grab bugs and then pull them, tuck them right back into their mouth when they do that. You can take a look into her esophagus and see kind of where it enters and all the muscles there, the roof of the mouth. This is basically their eardrums right here. And then we've got the eyes. We'll go ahead and cut the eye out. You can kind of get a look of what it looks like. I might have just burst that. You got to be kind of gentle. You can kind of see where it was attached, how it leads to the brain. And if we were to pull it out, you can see this really cool thing. I can actually squeeze this as hard as I want and I'm not going to break it. This is the lens that fits inside the eye and allows you to actually see. And we have that exact same feature. You can see that we've just got a lot of muscle tissue here. The skin is really just sitting on top of the muscle. It's connected to it by connective tissue. But you can really get a good idea of where the muscles are. And these right here are bones. And you can go in through here and get a look right there, this soft tissue right there. You can even scoop a little bit of it out. That's actually the brain. It's not very big, but it's a frog, so what do you expect, right? I can flip her back over, take a look at the muscles of her thigh, and you'll see that these are huge muscles, very, very fibrous, and that's because this is their major mode of movement. You can remove some of that tissue as well. And there we go. Now we've exposed the femur. You can continue to explore this. See if you can find the gallbladder and the pancreas. Have a little bit of fun with it. And make sure that you clean up by throwing all the parts of the frog into the garbage. The pins can be rinsed off, returned, and these tools, scalpel and the medical scissors, also need to be cleaned off and returned. The tray, the pad can come out, so you can wash that pad and return it. Once everything is clean, then you can go ahead and take your gloves off. And the best way to take your gloves off is actually to take it right there and then turn them inside out so none of the frog gunk gets anywhere.